It's 1:30 in the morning. I got this thing on Friday and was away all weekend. I couldn't mess with it. I had to drive back 5 hours home today, and I've been messing with it ever since. And dude, let me just tell you, Neve 1073, that's not a real Neve. It's a Heritage Audio. Close enough, man. I got that for just a steal, honestly, on Reverb. Just way too low of a price to pass up. And I've only ever used like the plugins before, the Waves or the UAD. Any other Neve pre I've used has been the 511 that I've had and loved. The OPXs, the like 8-channel and then 88M console. This is the first time I've had a real sit down and listen and test and have fun with a 1073 with the EQ on it. And I just kind of want to put my thoughts out here, and then, you know, we'll do some testing a bit later. But I just want to start off by saying, man, I should have done this sooner. The only thing I don't like about it is that I don't have another one. Ignore the mess and ignore the missing thing. It's in the shop for repair. But the R10 rack from R&D, there's mic inputs and line inputs that you can use in theory at the same time. Not like sending signal through both at the same time, but you can have them both plugged in, you know what I mean? And that's been fun. What I have been doing for the past year or so is that any vocal that I know was just kind of recorded on like a Scarlett or something like that, I'll send it through the 511 as a hardware insert and then into a compressor or something like that with the silk engaged, so it a little bit of grit. But in doing that, Logic makes it super easy to do things like that for pieces that do not have a dedicated line mode. Those 511s are always expecting mic level. But in Logic, for the external hardware insert, what you can do is you can change the input and the output signal that you're sending and receiving up to +10 and down to -24. I have a preset up. I just pull that preset up and it's already at -24. Setting out to it, which is not really mic level, but it gets it a hell of a lot better than line going into those things. But this guy, and this is not a unique thing of this, but it's just something I haven't personally owned and experienced this kind of thing. I just want to say how incredibly useful it is to have that guy. What it has a dedicated mic in and a dedicated line in, and then out, and it's all on XLR, so you're not gonna have to worry about it just fucking falling out or whatever. There's a dedicated line button, and so what I can do is just click that line button, and now I'm not getting any kind of interference from any microphone cable that's plugged in on the mic channel or any line cable that's plugged in on the mic channel. Because on this rat's nest of a patch bay, if I want to use it as a pre, I have to unpatch any line stuff, and if I want to use it as a line stuff, I have to unpatch any mics, which is first world problems. I totally get it, but man, just clicking in that line button and not having to worry about it, and the EQ on it is so usable and so useful. Hearing it in the real world and feeling it is so different than fucking with a plugin after the fact, after it's already been recorded, after your fun's already been had. There's something to me specifically about kind of 15K and above in a vocal, the overwhelming majority of vocals, that I am like, oh my God, this there's so much other stuff that I think could be better sitting in this super high register. So I'll kind of high pass things at like 18. That high shelf, it's a 1073, so the high shelf is fixed at 12.5. Just turning that down actually a little bit, like one dot on that. I think it's plus or minus 15. I don't know how much each dot is. It may be 1 decibel. I don't know. I don't care. I turn it till it sounds good, baby, and that's what's fun. And that has completely erased my hatred for those like super high frequencies on a vocal. Maybe I've been too harsh. Maybe I've been too stubborn. Maybe I've been too naive to kind of admit to myself that, plugins, you know, they're great. Hardware, who needs it? Can you do it with the hardware or with the, can you do it with the plugin? Yeah, I've been doing that. My mixes sound fucking fire. But as I'm heading more into recording world, and front end stuff instead of back end, just look at the smile and excitement on my face. I don't get this giddy when I bought my Apollo 5 years ago that I don't have anymore, and I bought the 73 with it. I'm on the lookout for a second one, and I'm also on the lookout for a good price of their 500 series preamps, just the preamps only, because my system as it stands and how I kind of want it to go is that these are going to be stereo pairs of preamps all the way through. So this is 10 slots, so I can have 5 pairs. So I got a pair of the 511s. I have a pair of these Black Lion, the B12As, I think, kind of like an API style. But this one that was here, what was happening on it, the phantom power wasn't working. You know, look, these are slightly different schematics between the two preamps I have, even though they swear they're the same. Nothing I could see was different or busted or broken, but it's currently with their distributor in New York getting a repair done. This is kind of where I am parked at the moment, this Heritage Audio Lang, which is another API style. And I honestly think, pardon my sodas, dude, I've been tired as hell. I think it's really good. After I get a second Lang, I'm thinking of doing a stereo pair of the Heritage Audio pre's, or maybe even like the AML, or if I can find one pre-built, like the DIY-RE, the new ones. I am not going anywhere near soldering or building my own preamp, that DIY shit. I've built, you know, custom tower PCs before, plenty of them. I hate it. Every time I do it, I want to die. So God knows how pissed I would be doing that. But anyway, I'm going to go to bed, and then tomorrow or the day after, we're going to be shooting out the Heritage Audio, there it is, in some different ways. Going to go up against my 511s, which I've already done kind of my own small test on, and then also recording through the Focusrite 2nd gen preamps, and then slapping the UAD plugin on it, and seeing just how worth it is purely sonically. I think it's worth it already, the fun I'm having, but enough of this low effort camera angle. I will see you tomorrow.
Hello.
So I just want to go over really quickly again kind of what we're going to be doing. I've recorded a little snippet of a cover of a song by Robert DeLong. It's called Deserve It All, and it's just a really aggressive part, not really aiming for the best sounding recording or anything like that, not a full production value type thing, but just it's really aggressive and allowed me to kind of push the pre's hard to bring out more of their color. So I've recorded the same thing 3 times through 3 different preamps. All the vocals were recorded through an MA201 FET, and all the drums were recorded through a C214. The bass was all DI. On the Heritage Audio, it was on the DI on the front. For the 511, because it has no DI, it is going through a radial DI box and then into the preamp. And on the Focusrite, it was just recorded straight DI. So we're going to listen through and compare the Heritage Audio 73EQ to the Rupert Neve Designs 511, and then the Focusrite Scarlett 18i20, the 2nd gen, the preamps on that, but then putting the Universal Audio 1073 plugin on that. When recording, I pushed these pretty hard, and I have done some light mixing as well, just fader adjustments and light compression. The point mainly that I'm trying to get across is the tiny differences adding up in a full recording. So down here at the bottom, we have the Heritage Audio with vocals, drums, and bass, and then the 511, and then the Scarlett. So let's listen to just the vocals.
They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. Feels like I'm spinning my wheels in the shed, and I'm not getting anywhere anymore.
And then we have drums.
and then bass. So all at once.
They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. Feels like I'm spinning my wheels in the shed, and I'm not getting anywhere anymore.
And then moving on to the 511.
They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. Feels like I'm spinning my wheels in the shed, and I'm not getting anywhere anymore.
Drums. So I am going to say really quickly that the 73 EQ has an EQ on it. For the drums, it was engaged and there was quite a lift at around 35 hertz, boosting up the low end a lot because of the position of the microphone wasn't catching a lot of bass. The 511 doesn't have an EQ on it. So is that unfair? Maybe a little bit, but just showing the utility that having a bit of EQ on the way in. And then bass. Sounds remarkably similar. And then the Scarlett with the UAD 1073. And this is matched up to the settings on the EQ that I had on the unit. Listen to vocals.
They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. Feels like I'm spinning my wheels in the shed, and I'm not getting anywhere anymore.
And then going to drums, I am able to give the Scarlett kit some of that low-end boost with the added EQ. And, you know, I'm not saying that you can't do this with the 511, right? You totally could. If you wanted to, you could just do that. There you go. But anyway. And then bass. So what I want to do is I want to go through and listen to all of them together and then just kind of swap between the 73, the 511, and the Scarlett.
They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. Feels like I'm spinning my wheels in the shed.
Now we're going to focus on just the vocals. And I am also going to turn off all of the reverb and delay and stuff like that.
They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life. They say that we deserve all that we get, but I'm not getting what I want out of this life.
Now we're going to do the same thing with the drums. And the bass. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. If the YouTube audio degradation didn't just screw that up royally. I'll tell you what I hear in my studio with a good listening environment. The things I liked most about each, I think the 511 was the quickest out of the three. It captured the transients a bit quicker than the 73 reel or plugin. I felt like the Heritage audio on the saturation was a lot more even in its saturation, not in a compressed way, but just that, you know, when I'm singing this loud, the saturation is only slightly more than when I'm singing this loud. Does that make sense? It's kind of difficult to describe, but it's like with the Focusrite, what would happen is that this is clean, this is clear as day, and this is clipping. This is saturated. Whereas with the Heritage audio and the 511 to a bit of a lesser extent, but specifically with the Heritage, this is clean, this is saturated, and there's a pretty wide breadth of saturation. And then just from a utility standpoint, obviously nothing beats having a plugin in after the tracking phase, because you can mess with it all you want, like I just did. But on the Scarlett itself, there is the preamp gain and then kind of nothing else. There's no output attenuation. There's a 20 dB pad. So to the credit of the Focusrite, that probably isn't a preamp that you would care too much to push and get its saturation, because its saturation isn't my cup of tea, and that's not really what it's built for. But getting to the 511, that thing is kind of built for saturation, so you can push it hard and then attenuate the output a little bit so that you're saturating and getting the harmonics out of the preamp, but not clipping the conversion. And the 511 also has a high-pass filter that you can engage that goes from 20 to 250, and it's fully variable in between that. And it also just has a button to engage it or disengage it. So you don't need to turn it up when you want to use it and then turn it all the way back when you don't. You just got to turn it off. So you can keep it and it will remain where it was, even if you don't have it engaged. And then the red silk control is pretty fun too. I didn't use it. I typically don't use it for my voice. I think the consonants and S sounds and stuff like that can get a little rowdy with it engaged even just a little bit. So I typically don't use it. But then the most utilitarian for sure is the Heritage audio with its full feature set. Having the line button to use it as an insert without having to patch anything in and out is awesome. The DI on the front just engages when there's something in it, disengages when there's nothing in it, and a full 3-band EQ with a low cut, which I honestly didn't think I'd be using, at least not a lot, but I've been using it a lot, and it sounds good enough to warrant using it as a hardware insert. There's a lot of different options out there for 1073 clones. In just 500 series alone, there's AML, Heritage Audio, Avitas Audio, Golden Age Project, DIYRE, BAE, and probably more that I'm forgetting. Definitely are more. But full rack mount units with the full suite of controls and options, there's a lot more options, a lot more affordable options, which is strange to me that a rack mount HA73 is cheaper than the 500 series, even though that doesn't even need to include a power supply. But I don't know. Probably to do with the manufacturing process, like machine built versus hand wired and all that kind of stuff. It makes only a tiny bit of difference to me as the end consumer. But anyway, there's a lot of options. I think most recently, something that I don't think got as much buzz as I thought it would was the Behringer, the 1273. That's a dual mono rack mount 1073 clone with EQ, and I've barely heard anything about it or seen anything about it. Then also in that space, there's the Alctron, or the something or other that I can't remember how to pronounce. But there's Warm Audio, which I think is what everyone thinks of when they think of 1073 clone. I have not personally used that. I did read a lot of reviews in forums and watched videos shooting out the Warm to the Heritage and the, a real Neve. If you would like to see me do one of those shootouts, then please let me know. And let me know what you thought of this video. I feel like everyone and their grandmother has done kind of preamp comparison videos, so I wanted to do something a bit different, a bit more fun, and a bit more personal, talking about workflow and utility and things like that. So thank you so much for watching. Like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed it that much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.